Keep rolling so we can edit.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and I'm going to introduce you to how I make my homemade yogurt, which is really hard to believe that I'm making homemade yogurt because I don't really like yogurt for most of my life. But when I read the Superbug book by Dr. William Davis, and he talked about making yogurt from A2 half and half, it piqued my interest because it's a completely different texture than regular yogurt. And A2 milk comes from a kind of a cow that produces a kind of a milk that typically produces raw milk, because these cows don't make very much milk, so they use those cows for raw milk. And the casein is much, much less inflammatory. So some people who can't drink milk can drink A2 milk. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to pretend that I am like many of my patients and have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. In essence, that is like fecalization of our small intestine. Our feces, weirdly and oddly, have moved up into our small intestine because of all the abuse with antibiotics and the pesticides and the horrible foods we eat and the leaky gut and the gluten, and on it goes. And so these particular bacteria that I'm going to be making the yogurt with are designed specifically to feed the microbiome that kills the SIBO environment. So that's extraordinary. While I don't have SIBO, I'm certain I have some SIBO. I don't have any symptoms, so I'm just going after it using this particular recipe. But Dr. Davis has lots of different recipes. So here's what we do. What you're going to need is a yogurt maker. And right here I have one, and this one is like $120. It's called the Ultimate, and you'll see it's got a little bit of water in there ready to go. And then I'm going to have two bowls. The left one, this is marked with an L, and this is marked with an R. So the one that I'm going to make my SIBO concoction with is on the right, and the one I'm going to make just a regular happy gut environment is on the left. So what you do to begin with, you need a quart of each for each cup or for each container, and I throw one of each in. Now the key here is to be clean. I've washed these bowls, I've washed my hands, I've washed the utensils. I make sure that I'm not putting this in an environment that is going to pick up bugs. And then you're going to take your teaspoon and you're going to first put in here inulin. Inulin is like the food that feeds the probiotics. And so this is called a prebiotic. It's like, oh, for the love of God, are you telling me you have to feed the bugs? Yes, I am. This is a prebiotic. Now, here's the trick. This is kind of like tapping your head and your belly in opposite directions. You're going to put the inulin in very slowly because you do not want it to clump. This is what I have found to be the secret, and my teacher, a physician who brought this book and this information to my attention, told me, you don't want to beat it hard with this big, with the whisk. You want to be sort of gentle, and you're going to put 2 teaspoons of this bug feeding food in each one of these containers. And I'll show you what I'll be doing or putting in each container as we get going. And you can purchase this all on Amazon. Probably I was into this with all these things for about $220. And this has lasted me for months. This will last me 4 or 5 months because you don't use very much. Here's my 2nd tablespoon. And again, I'm just gonna be real careful to stir this in gently. Make sure it doesn't clump. That's the big deal, the clumping. And this takes 36 hours to cook. So the best thing to do is to put it together like around 7 o'clock at night, or depending upon when you leave in the morning for work, because it won't be ready the next day, but it'll be ready at 7 o'clock the following morning, okay? So if you go to work at 6, then make sure you're doing this at 6 o'clock at night. So let's go ahead and prepare the second. Getting a little low on my inulin. I'm going to have to you use more of that than anything, that's for sure. We have to purchase some more of that. And one of my instructors, oops, I got a little clumpy there, so I'll calm down and go a little slower and make sure I got those clumps out. One of my instructors said that he likes to stir his yogurt halfway through. I tried that, but it turned out once really well, and another time it didn't turn out really well, and I just wonder if introducing a utensil with maybe a little bit of bacteria, perhaps, who knows, didn't work out as well. So once I put it under a cover, I don't touch it for that 36 hours. Okay, here's my last little bit. I'm real careful not to touch anything with my fingers, although I typically am told I'm like Typhoid Mary in the kitchen. My husband's constantly horrified about how I treat food, but I think sometimes that's the reason I have a good stomach, because I'm introducing lots of bacteria to my gut inappropriately. But with my yogurt, I'm very, very careful to follow this correctly. So the nice thing about this yogurt is the texture is like no other yogurt you've ever had, and I eat it straight. I do not put any sugar in it. Okay, I can get rid of that teaspoon. Okay, so on the right side here, I'm going to make my SIBO concoction. Because that's going to go in, it's been the same in both bowls, I'm not worried. So I'm just going to keep it on that lid right here. Now I'm going to be using one of three things. Can you zoom in to see that? This is called HU57 Bacillus subtilis, SUBTILIS, and this is called Lactobacillus gasseri, and this guy is Lactobacillus reuteri, REUTERI, and this is by Toniq, TONIQ, and this one is Microbiome Labs. The HU58 is Microbiome Labs, and then I actually bought this via Dr. Mercola. I really trust his products. And so these three are going to go in this container on the right, which I've designated to be my SIBO treatment. And really carefully, I'm going to unwind this capsule. I do not want to drop the capsule parts in, because then you have to fish it out and you're introducing more bacteria. Sometimes these guys can be a little tricky, but I've learned you gotta hang firmly on, because if you don't, you could drop it in, and then just twist it until you have all the contents out. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little tap with my handy dandy little whisker. You know, there's different size whiskers. This one's small, but here's my boy Wallace, who loves yogurt. He gets 1 tablespoon every morning after his mom gets hers. And he had a pretty sensitive tummy, but since he's been doing the yogurt, he doesn't have a sensitive tummy at all anymore. It's kind of interesting. All right, so carefully I'm unwinding this little guy and asking it to let go. Again, some capsules are easier than others. We're getting close. I will win. So far I've not been shut down. Oh, there we go. Usually one part of the capsule contains a lot more, of course. So just be careful that you get it all out. Like in one of these capsules, you might have 10 billion bugs. 10 billion. Are you kidding me? Who's the sucker that had to count those things? I'm sure they have a way to do it. That is not that difficult. Okay, so now I'm going to get to my reuteri, which I like the name of. Makes me feel like I'm cleansing my gut. And this one historically comes apart really easy. So there we have it. And there's my other little dog, Booker, who is 14, and he loves his yogurt too. He is letting his mom know by tapping my leg that he would like some yogurt. But buddy, gotta wait for 36 hours. Okay, so now I've got those 3 guys in here for my SIBO collection, and I am now going to add the second bit of half and half. I find that I usually use about 7/8 of the second one because I don't want it so full, and then I can use this in my coffee. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to give this a little whirl. This next one's real easy because there's only one capsule that goes in it. Make sure it's all good and happy to go. I don't see any weird things in here, which is beautiful. And I'm going to go ahead and cover it. Now, you want to burp it a little bit. I'm just going to take it over and gently place it to the right of my yogurt maker where there's a little water in here. And I always know the right side is the one I'm going for. Okay, just to get these out of the way, I'll throw that in garbage. And then I am going to take hot water and clean my whisk because we'll be introducing a new bacteria over here. Now, this bacteria is interesting. It's an expensive one and it comes with its own probiotic, which is bizarre, but we're going to throw that part out. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to use my probiotic, the inulin, instead. I want it to be consistent. So when I open this guy up, this is called Seed. And the company I bought, it's called DS01 Daily Synbiotic. And the company itself is Seed, seed.com. So watch, when I open this guy up, it's like Easter. Inside of this one capsule is another capsule. On the outside was all the prebiotic, but I'm not going to use that prebiotic. I'm going to use just what I fed it with my inulin in here. And all that goes in this one is just this one capsule with 10 billion little bugs. Crazy. But there we have it. So I'm gonna get that nice and swirled up, and we're going to add the rest of this, or most of it, because I'm going to keep a little bit for my coffee, or even some tea at the end of the day. Hot tea with a little cream, with a little honey. It's living. Okay, so I'm going to just gently put this. Actually, I'm going to put a teeny weeny bit more in. There we go. I'm going to just put this in here. I'm going to burp it a little and then come over here. Now, yogurt makers typically go to 98 or 99 degrees, but we found through trial and error that 102 is the best. So I'm going to put it to 102, and then after that I'm going to put it for 36 hours. Now this yogurt maker only goes for 24 in a shot because I did something wrong. So what I do in 24 hours, I just hit it for another 24 hours, and then 12 hours later, 36 hours total, boom, the yogurt will be ready. So it's 4:40. What I'm going to have to do is, hey Siri, remind me to wake up at 4:40 on Tuesday morning, because it's Sunday right now. And I'll come down, pop that into the refrigerator, and I'm good to go. So now I want to show you this beautiful texture of my yogurt. Generally speaking, I tend to run out before I make it, but on this particular day, I had plenty left over. So if you can see this texture, it's like, it's so good. It's like sour cream in a way. And my husband likes to put a little maple syrup, but I like to eat it just raw. And I might take 3 tablespoons of this every day, and then I give 1 each to my dog. So by the time my 36 hours is up, I'll be ready for a new batch of yogurt. If you have any questions, let me know. You have my email with this YouTube video, but I'll give it to you nonetheless. Pearson, PEARSONDC @mac.com. Have fun.